You want to listen more than you talk, and you want to ask as many questions as possible. That's how you learn. There are people in your community and in your life that want to help you succeed. Find good relationships on social media, and you could find properties on social. As long as you have money and there's a problem that money will fix, you have no problem.
We were in negotiations.
Investing in real estate, they're winning, they're making money.
What's up, and welcome to the Real Estate Educators Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Amolsch. This podcast is changing a little bit, and it's been so much fun. We're helping real estate investors and real estate educators. You're out there fixing and flipping houses. You're out there trying to build a cash flowing rental portfolio, building your wealth. Or are you out there trying to educate real estate investors? Maybe you're trying to get a little business from the investor community. This is the podcast for you. I hope you enjoy these new solo episodes we're doing. Assuming you do, please help us out, share it with a friend, and give us a 5-star review. Let us know what you think on your favorite podcast platform, or if it's on YouTube, maybe even leave me some comments below. Today, I want to go into some detail on the 5 tips to being a successful real estate investor. So I remember early on, I was working with one of my mentors, and he had a little course or a book, I guess you can call it, on the 7 steps of real estate investing success. Very similar to the 7 habits of successful people. And I thought, I could think of 5 really good skills or really important tips for investors to be successful, to either get going or to increase your success if you're already having some success. So I just wanted to shoot this quick episode here to go through these 5 tips that I was thinking. So the first one, tip number 1 to being a successful real estate investor is get educated. I really think you got to start there, but I'm going to caveat that with this. We can't let trying to learn it all or know everything stop us from taking action. That's the error. That's the mistake. That's the most common mistake want-to-be real estate investors make. So if you want to be an investor and you haven't actually gotten started yet, yes, get educated. That is tip number 1, but don't let it stop you from taking action. You will learn a hell of a lot more moving forward. Small steps every day, as they say. So get started. But to get educated, so I think books are probably the number 1 way that you're going to want to get educated. So different real estate investment books, different strategies. And once you can hone in on a strategy that you want to focus on, maybe it's very traditional. Go out and find a property in the MLS, get a 30-year fixed rate loan, put your 25% down payment, and build a rental portfolio over time. Buying 2-3 houses over a 5-year period will absolutely change your life. It will help you become wealthy and financially free. So even though there are what I would consider better ways, or faster ways, I should say, to build a portfolio, even if you're going to be very, very conservative and just buy a house a year or a house every other year or something like that, you still need to get educated. You still need to find the niche and really hone in on the skills to find the properties, manage the properties, all of those things. So books is number 1, and it's really great with Audible right now. If you don't have an Audible account, I encourage that. Audible books that you listen to in your car while you're driving. They actually used to be on tape, guys, believe it or not. Number 2 would be events. So that we're stepping up the price tag a little bit here, but if you go to real estate education events, seminars, conferences, that kind of thing. I know Bigger Pockets, BP Con has a really big one where a lot of well-known real estate investors are there. Good networking opportunities, and you will learn an absolute ton from the stage. But one thing that I think is the best about events is the inspiration and the motivation you get from them. When I go to an event, even today, and I'm surrounding myself with people that are highly motivated and wanting to go out and make a difference in their lives, to change their financial lives, it really does inspire me. So when I go home, I'm just, that more motivated to get going. So I do think events are worthwhile, and I would strongly encourage you to go. Now, Pine Financial does do a couple of events a year, one in Denver, one in Minneapolis or in the Twin Cities. And these are super affordable. So it's not going to be like your BP Con events where, you're spending $1,000 or more to get in. These are $40 events. We don't make money on them. It's really local to that community. So in Minnesota, for example, it's all going to be local speakers, local investors there. No one's getting on a plane to come out. So I really think that's a great event for both education, and then you're networking with other people in your backyard, doing the things you want to be doing, buying the properties you want to be buying. So I really encourage you to come to one of our investor success summits. If you're in Denver, you can get information at denveriss.com. If you're in the cities, it's mniss.com. And when this releases, it's going to be a while before the next event because we only do one a year in each location. We do in the fall in Denver. We do in the spring in Minneapolis. So events are great. Oh, and there's like webinars and all that are fantastic also. You're not going to get the same inspiration, which is where I get so much value. But a lot of times you can get on some webinars and they're completely free. And then we'll even give you an opportunity to interact with the host. So it's a good time to, put in your questions in the chat or actually get in front of the expert. Number 3 here is podcasts. I think podcasts, here's what I think about podcasts. First of all, they're fantastic and you're listening to one right now. But the thing about podcasts is I think they too are inspirational, more inspirational than educational, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. I try really hard when I have guests on the podcast, and I try hard when I'm doing these solos to provide some real content, some actionable items that you can go out and make a difference in your life. But I don't know that I'm super successful in that, and I don't know that I get that when I'm listening to other podcasts. But what I do get is to hear their story and can get an idea of what they've done and what they've had to overcome, and it helps keep me motivated and keep me going. So I think podcasts, you can learn from them, but I think you will learn more, if I'm being quite honest with you, from books and seminars and events and things like that. But please don't stop listening to our podcast. And if you are getting some actionable takeaway items, hopefully even this episode will do that. Give us a 5-star review. Shoot me an email. Let me know what you think. It's easy. Kevin@pinefinancialgroup.com. The final word of wisdom here on education is ask questions. There is nothing more important, in my opinion, than the questions you ask when it comes to your success. And that's not just to other people. The questions you ask your own self are highly important as well. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that, but I do say if you're going to events, you're meeting people, you're going to coffees, lunches, you're on webinars, don't just jump in, listen, and jump off. You have to be curious. My business coach always tells me one of his values: be curious. So ask questions and listen. You want to listen more than you talk, and you want to ask as many questions as possible. That's how you learn, you guys. That's how you learn the business. Number 2 of the 5 tips is it's the people. The saying goes, if you are the best musician in your band, it's time for a new band. I think that's absolutely true in real estate. You want to surround yourself with highly capable, highly positive people. That's how you will get your success. Number 1 here is seek out mentors. I would not be anywhere near as successful as I am if I didn't seek out and listen to mentors. Now, mentors can come in 2 forms here. You can pay for mentorship, which I have done, and I have gotten a ton of value. I do encourage that. We do not mentor, so please don't send me an email asking me that. I do get that quite often. Unfortunately, I make my money actually doing deals, not teaching. What I do teach is for free. I don't charge for mentorships and that kind of thing. But I do think there's some fantastic mentorship programs out there. If you are going to go that route, I would focus more on the local mentorships than the big national expensive ones. You'll get a lot more value that way. But it doesn't always have to be paid mentorships. There are people in your community and in your life that want to help you succeed. Now, I'm not saying call everybody up and say, can I go pick your brain? Can I buy you lunch? Lunch is not worth the hour to try to help mentor you unless there's a motivation to do that. So if you could provide some value, that's number 1. But if you've got a relationship with somebody already and they already know and care about you, there's a gift here, you guys. The gift is them helping you. People want to help people. We get joy from that. In fact, if you think about in your life, the most joyful and happiest times of your life, it's been when you've been giving and when you've been helping other people. I guarantee that. So if someone's offering to help you, accept. two reasons. One, you want the education, you want to improve. And two, that's a gift to them. Because if they could see you benefiting from them, that creates happiness. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that my position here. If you say no when people want to give you something, you are stealing from them. So go out and find some mentors. Number two here, build your team. I wrote down some of the team members I think are essential for success. So I put realtors, lenders, wholesalers, contractors, property managers, insurance agents and companies, legal and accounting. So those are some of the biggies. There are others, like in the contractor world, for example, it's good to have a handyman. It's good to have a specialized electrician or a plumber, right? All of these are important team members, which is why your Rolodex is super important. So keep good relationships with the people that help you make money. And then, of course, you're going to help them as well. Relationships matter. Okay, so build relationships with important power team members. You do this through networking events, actually using them, paying for their service. Don't take anything for free. Like, don't have contractors come out and meet you at 10 fix and flips that you're considering buying and then not buy any of them, right? That's just not fair. But if you can pay them for their time or only bring them out to properties that you have control of under contract, and you know that if you do that, you have the ability to close, and then if you close and you're hiring these people, that's a whole different story, right? Number three here is masterminds. I cannot say enough how important this is. When I was getting started in this business as a real estate investor, long before Pine Financial Group, I wanted 6 to 8 people that were in similar but non-competing industries, and I wanted to all push and challenge each other to build our businesses. And there was nothing like that existed. Now, today, you have groups like this that you can pay for and be a part of. Okay, but back then I didn't have that, so I went and created it. I just started calling the most successful people I knew: title company, attorney, anybody that I thought was good to support real estate investing, realtors, for example. And then I ended up getting a heck of a lot of no's. People don't want to meet with me every month, but I got 5 yeses, and we ended up building a 6-person mastermind, and we got together for breakfast once a month, and we held each other accountable. If you didn't do what you said you were going to do, you had to buy the entire group breakfast. And it ended up being a fantastic group and some of my closest friends. In fact, the Real Estate Investors Success Summit, that came out of this mastermind group. I met people in this group that I was working with that helped start the Real Estate Investor Success Summit. So that wouldn't be what it is. It wouldn't be a thing if we didn't have this mastermind. Now, today I'm in different masterminds, some paid masterminds. I'm in a commercial real estate mastermind where I pay a little over $30,000 a year to be in, and we meet once a quarter. So I go meet a bunch of people that I know and I do business with every single quarter all around the country, and it's a very expensive price tag to be in that room. But the reason I'm okay with that is because everybody in that room is paying that same amount. So everybody in that room is extremely serious, and they are out there doing deals. They are out there making money, and they are out there supporting and helping each other. Now I'm in other masterminds that are completely free. So I have a great mastermind group now that we meet in twice a year. Currently it's twice a year. It might go up from there. And there's, I think it's up to 9 people now. They just invited a new guest. So I think we're 9 deep, and everybody has high balance sheet, high income, high ethics, and we all pick apart each other's financial situations and our businesses and help each other improve. So you're literally on the spotlight for between an hour and an hour and a half, and just lifting up your skirt, I guess is the best way I could describe it, telling all about the money you're donating, the time you're donating, the amount of income you have, what is that is active and passive, what's your balance sheet, where are you trying to improve, what are your goals for the year, how can the room help you, what challenges are you having reaching your goals, and then we work on it. So it's super important, super cool, super great friends, and I have seen a tremendous amount of benefit for me personally, but for everybody in there. And then finally, I put in here social media. It is important. I'm not great at it, so this is one of those listen to what I say, not what I do things, but you could find good relationships on social media, and you could find properties on social media. So the last wholesale transaction I did, I found it from someone in my network, and then I flipped it on Facebook. So I just posted it on Facebook, and I got a buyer. One of my Facebook friends ended up buying it. I made 15 grand on the thing, and it took me, I don't know, 15 minutes of time. It was very quick and easy. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the power of social media. So although I'm not as great at using it, I do know how valuable it is. So I would focus on that as well. This episode is brought to you by Pine Financial Group. Pine Financial is a private lender specializing in short-term rehab lending to real estate investors. Got a property that needs some love? We can help. We are able to offer funding solutions because we raise private money from individual investors. With more than 15 years of experience, Pine offers passive investors an alternative that provides stability, consistency, and security to your portfolio. If you like real estate but want to avoid the ups and downs and effort, a Pine mortgage fund could be a perfect fit for you. Accredited investors will experience an 8% preferred return and profit sharing. Diversify your portfolio out of Wall Street and into Main Street with a Pine Financial Group mortgage fund. Get more information at pinefinancialgroup.com. That's pinefinancialgroup.com. So those are my first two tips. Get educated, and it's the people. Tip number 3 is understand the math. I don't think you could be a successful real estate investor and not understand the numbers. And I see people try and they fail, and it's actually very sad for me. So please learn the numbers. If it doesn't come natural for you, spend some time and educate yourself there. Otherwise, you're going to be getting yourself into situations where you don't understand. You don't understand the risk and the return profiles. You don't understand the return on your dollar and what's the best assets to be pursuing. These are important to be successful. So I did do another solo podcast on important real estate formulas, which includes like cap rates, cash on cash returns, return on equity, return on investment, some of the big ones. And so I would definitely take some time and go listen to that solo podcast on the Real Estate Educators podcast. That episode, I think will give you a lot of insight on the important formulas to be successful as a real estate investor. The other one is Mayo, which I don't cover in that one, but Mayo is maximum allowable offer. And there's a couple of ways to look at this, but if you're going to do a fix and flip, you got to understand how to run the numbers to come up with your offer amounts and the amount you could pay for the property. It's similar. It's a different process and different formula, but similar when you're going to buy a rental property. In both cases, what you're trying to solve for is your offer, not how much money you're going to make. So the right way to do it is subtract out profit and come up with an offer amount. So we call that Mayo. I also put in here understanding the math as cash flow. And I say that because where I've seen mistakes happen, you all, is not accounting for a loss reserve and vacancies and just overall maintenance. So maintenance is very, very often underestimated. So be careful here. And loss reserves, it's rare if I even see it. So, or a loss reserve or a reserve to replace, let's call it. You can call it either one. But let's say a furnace goes out in your single family rental property and now you're $2,500 into a repair. Well, that might be a full month of rent. So you just lost a full month of rent in your year. So now it's 11 months of income instead of 12. That makes a significant impact on the profitability of that property, right? But if you're budgeting for that and you're taking a percent and a half, something like that of the gross rent every month and throwing it into a reserve account, then you're budgeting for those major expenses. And those major expenses do come up and do impact cash flow and profitability. So we should be budgeting for those. So let's budget for vacancies. Let's not forget that. Let's budget for reserve to replace or loss reserve. All right, so that's understanding the math. Number 4 tip to being a successful real estate investor is be creative. Now, I started the episode saying, well, you could be really, I'm going to say really boring, but that sounds so terrible. But you could be very basic and do 20% down payment, go get a Fannie Mae loan and buy a rental property and do that every other year. And then you'll be financially well off. You could even be financially independent on that alone. Real estate is that powerful. But what if you want to try to improve that or get into some types of deals where you're going to really accelerate some value add type of stuff? So when I say be creative here, I'm talking about 3 different things. One is how to find and structure deals. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. I was really interested in buying a home, a second home in Summit County in Colorado. Summit County, if you don't know, is along I-70, and it is absolutely surrounded by ski resorts. You have like Breckenridge and Vail and Beaver Creek and Copper Mountain and Keystone and A Basin and even Loveland. Loveland is a little further, but you have access to all of these amazing world class ski resorts in this county. Um, I mean, that spreads out into a couple counties there, but it's all right along this area, right? So I wanted to be along I-70 in Summit County, and I got to tell you guys, it is not easy to find properties in this part of Colorado. They don't go into foreclosure. They're owned by really wealthy people. There's hardly ever motivation to sell them, so you're paying full retail whenever you buy them. And so I was like, I need to try to find a deal in Summit County. So I'm looking doing all the traditional stuff, the Crexies and the Redfin and the just talking to brokers and networking. I'm doing all those things and I'm making offers and nothing was working. Well, what ended up happening is we found a property at the trustee site. So the trustee site, for those of you that don't know, is where the properties go to be foreclosed on. The trustee is basically directed to auction off foreclosure properties to take care of debt. So the lenders say, trustee, auction a property off, the property goes to auction, and that auction produces money to pay off the creditor, or the creditor gets the house, one of those two things. So this property was at the trustee site headed to auction. So we did a real quick O&E on it, owners and encumbrance report, and found out that there was a second mortgage, and then there was also a third position lien, which was a judgment. Now this judgment was like $64 million, and it was right there in third position. So if you got control of this judgment, nobody would get the property but you. There's not like I could buy out the first or second position, but then that judgment was so big, they could come in and redeem, they call it, and take the property. So I would not end up with the property. So the only guarantee to get the property in this case would be to get a hold of that judgment. So we called the judgment holder's attorney and said that we would like to talk about the judgment, and we really want the property that it's recorded against. And we have a couple of options here. I wanted to redeem the property after the foreclosure because the lien position has that right. I know I'm going a little high level here, so forgive me if I'm losing you. I do apologize. But the point is the creativity is what I'm trying to get at. So I wanted to redeem from that judgment position. So I was going to pay them to just let me have the redemption rights. Well, they didn't want to give me the redemption rights for a fee. They wanted to sell me the entire judgment. So we just offered them $80,000 because that's where the numbers worked for us. And they said, so $80,000 if you want to sell the judgment. And it was a $64 million judgment. You know what? They said yes. The reason for that is because I didn't want the property. And once the property was out of the estate, there was no other assets for them to go after. So the chances of them collecting anything was almost zero. This was their one and only chance to at least collect something. And they did not want the house. So we bought the judgment for $80,000 and we ended up pursuing the property from that position. Now, there's more to that story, and maybe someday I'll go into it, but we did end up with a property. We ended up totally remodeling it. We were in it for about total, with the judgment, the first and the second, paying them off, and the rehab, for about $700,000. And it's a 2,700 square foot 4-bed, 5-bath home in Summit County, worth maybe 1.6 million. So that ended up being a fantastic home run deal. Actual results may vary, as they say, but I would never have found that if I didn't open up my creativity. So be creative. That's how you find and structure deals. You can get ideas on how to be creative by listening to podcasts just like you're doing right now. Number 2 here on to be creative is think about how you can add value. Repairs are obvious, like everyone could do a kitchen and bath remodel, right? But where can you add square footage, or can you rearrange the floor plan to create an extra bathroom or some more functionality to it? What about the design? Is there something creative you could do with the design to make it more attractive? So the way you learn about this stuff is to go out and look at properties. Go see what other people are doing and get ideas. And then you can implement these ideas when you buy a property. You could do things like create owner financing or sell on a rent to own, or you could do a rent by the room, or you could do short-term and mid-term rentals. There's lots of different ways that you could add value to a piece of real estate that that will help make you wealthy, I guess. There's just different ways that you could be creative and add value. I know I'm going through this kind of fast, guys, but I wanted to keep the episode under 3 or 4 hours long. So we're just going through the high level 5 tips here. Another way you could be creative is with partnerships. So in 2008, I took a absolute beating, and my credit was totally wrecked. And I knew that 2009 and 2010 were some of the best buying opportunities I would see in my entire life. Um, Most people's entire life, honestly. I don't know if we'll ever see those types of buying opportunities ever again. We were buying houses for 50 grand that would rent for 12, 13, $1,400 that were in great condition, all brick ranches with basements, 2-car garage. And then we were getting financing at 4%, right? Because the economy was in complete shambles. So, but how did I do that when I didn't have any credit? So I would partner with people. They would go out and sign on the loan. I'd go out and find the deals, do the management, and we'd split the deals 50-50. They obviously did some participation, help make decisions, that kind of thing. But it was them signing on the loans. And so I was able to build up a portfolio after 2008. Many properties I still have today, because I was creative on how I could finance them using partnerships. Now, you could do really cool stuff with partnerships as you get more advanced. One example is do some convertible equity. So you could bring in partners and give them a piece of the deal, but promise them, hey, if I could hit an IRR, internal rate of return of X, maybe it's 15, 16, 17%, which should make them extremely happy, by the way. If you could give them their money back and give them an IRR of whatever amount it is, their equity converts to debt, right? So you just convert them, and it's basically a way to make them, I don't want to say push them out of the deal, but it's a way to give them what they want, which is a high return. But by converting their equity, which is needed to get the deal closed, you need equity to get it financed, but then it turns into debt after you get to a position where you can pay their money back. So that's kind of one little creative way to bring equity into a deal, but not have a lifelong partnership. So be creative was tip number 4, and it's how to find and structure deals, how to add value to deals, and how to utilize partnerships. We all have different strengths and resources, and if you could bring 2, 3, or 4 people together that all bring value, it's pretty amazing what you're able to accomplish. Number 5 tip for real estate investors to be successful is to be safe. You could do that by number 1, focus on cash flow. If a property cash flows, you're making positive money every month. Remember the furnace, so budget for your loss reserves. But if you're cash flowing, you can handle anything. If there's a market correction and values go down, you can stay with the property. You can handle it. You could sell when it is most beneficial to you. Look, you don't take a loss on values going down. Okay, you take a loss when values go down and you are forced to sell. As long as you could ride it out and go back up, you could avoid those losses. So cash flow is in my opinion, number 1 for staying safe. Number 2, and it's not far behind, guys, it's probably equal, is cash reserves. One of my attorneys likes to tell me, you don't have a problem unless you can't afford the problem. As long as you have money and there's a problem that money will fix, you have no problem. That is so true. So have reserves. You have a pipe break, you have some vandalism, you have something that might stress you out and be like viewed as a problem, but you got some reserves to handle it. Hey, lay your head on that pillow, go to sleep because you got this. So keep some cash in liquidity to handle those bad days, those rainy days. Buy in good locations. Now, I just wrote an article. It's actually, when I'm recording this isn't going to be released for a while, but I'm writing an article now about if we should be buying for appreciation or cash flow. Now, I think buying in great locations that we think would appreciate is good, but that's speculation and that's risky. I think we should buy in good locations that we limit our downside. So create a floor. Like if you're in a good location like Summit County, there's only so much that can go down because people want it. It's desirable, right? So I'm buying in good locations to create a floor so that I could stay safe. If you're buying cheap and you think there's a good rent to price ratio, the rents are high, prices are low, those are sometimes in the not so great neighborhoods, and they could really take a beating if a market shifts, rents and values. But in good locations like Washington Park, Wash Park in Denver, good location, fantastic location actually, was one of very few neighborhoods in the country that did not lose value in 2008 and 9. Okay, that stayed flat to increase in value even in the worst real estate financial crisis ever, right? Because that's a good location. So I think staying safe is buying in good locations. Now, you will give up some cash flow. Let me be very clear on that. So I did say cash flow is number one. If you buy in great locations, you probably are giving up on some cash flow, but it is a fantastic way to stay safe. And then finally, phone a friend. I think you should be using friends for properties before you buy them and after. So let me give you an example. If you're working with Pine Financial, we want to make sure you're getting into good deals, obviously, because we're investing our money in it. So we're going to look over your shoulder and make sure you're running your numbers correctly, right? So that's good. Other friends, it doesn't have to be Pine. It could be any other mentor or friend or colleague. Let them look over your shoulder and say, do you agree with these numbers before you buy? You could create so much safety for yourself if you could figure this out before you close. After you close, it gets a little tougher. Now, after you close, you can still phone a friend, right? I am having trouble with something. This is why people are so important. Pick up the phone, call someone who knows the answer to that. So don't be afraid to reach out and call for help. They might want to call you for help someday. And remember, it's a gift you're giving them when they help you. Now, don't take advantage of it. I'm not saying that, but do not be afraid to phone a friend. So again, quick recap, 5 tips for successful real estate investing. Number 1, get educated. Number 2, it's the people. Number 3, understanding the math. Number 4, be creative. That one's a little bit tougher, but by reading and learning and getting educated, you will automatically become more creative. And number 5, be safe. I hope you got some value from this episode of Real Estate Educators Podcast. If you did, leave me a 5-star review. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me some comments below. What tip did I not hit? What has helped you be a more successful real estate investor that our audience would benefit from? I would love to engage. So please leave a comment and hit like, hit subscribe if you're Facebook or YouTube. Otherwise, 5-star review on the podcast platforms. We love you. And I want to say, I always like to close with this, there's a lot of different things you could be doing right now. There's a lot of different podcasts you could be listening to, and you chose to listen to this one. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you for that. So thank you. And I hope you make this day a great one. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please be sure to follow and leave us a review. Oh yeah, and tell a friend.